Hey, it's Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It is May 3rd. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and not a bad day. Today was an FOMC day. There was also the 9:30 oil, and that triggered right in here. So, um, somebody asked me the other day, would I be concerned? Should I be concerned about entering right around the oil time? Um, I'd say yes and no. Generally, oil has not been that big a factor. Obviously, today it looks like it did. There's no surprises here. Let me show you a couple of clues here. I mean, this channel was fairly easy to find. You should have had this channel long before we made this low right here. You could have easily gotten this off the lows and drug it up, or you could have just worked it off the first two swings, either way. But by the time we made this low here, you should have had this channel in place. And not difficult to find. Just somebody average probably should have this in place. Definitely anybody intermediate level should definitely have it. So if you didn't, then you got work to do. But let me show you a couple of clues here. Notice how we came up short right here. Generally what that's going to mean, the market moves in equal moves. So we're either going to probably come up that much short on the other side, or we're going to overshoot it by that much. Well, look what happens. We overshoot it by that much. Well, we definitely got a clear channel working down. There's a midline in here as well. It's pretty obvious. I don't have it on here, but you can see that midline. I mean, this is a very easy channel to find. So let's go ahead and put it on there for training purposes. But notice how we came up short. So what's probably going to happen on this other side is we're going to overshoot it by that much. We may come up short that much is a possibility. Something else I just noticed, I didn't notice this till just now, but notice that gap right there across the EMA. That EMA is just like any other support resistance kind of level, and you'll see those gaps over those things. You'll see gaps over the trend lines, and that's often a good clue if you're in the right place. I see it happen over and over. What really causes it doesn't matter. There's probably, no matter what I say, there'll be 10 other people out there with some different idea. All I want you to know is that it happens. It doesn't matter why it happens. Just know that it happens, and it gives you a good clue if your trend line or your EMA or whatever is telling you the right thing. The EMA is not really movable. We always use a 21 EMA, so there's not much use for it there other than, hey, notice it happened. But when you see it over a midline, a trend channel line, or a trend line, it's telling you something. And you're probably, if everything else is fitting well, you're probably, your trend line's probably in the right place. But anyway, let's get back to where we were here. I got kind of sidetracked with that just because I happened to notice it there. But notice we ended up overshooting this about this, similar to what we undershot it down here. And that's your first break, so we're probably going to test the low. And notice what happened here. We overshot it up here, and we overshot it down here by an equal amount. So that's pretty common. And notice how at first we bounced off the trend line, but we pushed on further. And that'll happen sometimes in the news. They got it moving here, and they pushed it and probed it as far as they could. And I actually like taking this trade back because you're way overdone. It's a news item. You're going to snap back pretty soon. You're better off to wait on the higher low, which doesn't come till over here. This one's right into the midline, right into the EMA, so I'm not crazy about taking it. But then you get your for sure reversal pattern here, and the odds are you're probably going to take all this move back. And sure enough, look where it goes. Right back to that place, kind of goes sideways and resets and kind of starts over again. And that's very, that doesn't happen 100% of the time that it takes it back real quickly like that. But I'm going to say 90% of the time. I'm just guessing based on my experience. So I don't have any numbers to back this up. So if one of you number crunching gurus want to crunch it for us, I'd be curious to know. But, I rely on my memory, maybe more than I should. But after years of watching this thing, I can, I get a feel for what the market's doing. So I'm not a numbers cruncher. I never have believed in it. Uh, I'm not saying there's no value to it, but that's just not me. I don't have enough patience for it. Not my memory. I tend to rely on my memory. Um, so my memory tells me that 90% of the time, probably 85 or 90% of the time, it takes it back pretty quickly and resets and kind of starts over. So, and that's what we got today. But anyway, um, let's back out here, talk about the trades, and we'll wrap it up and wrap today up, wrap Wednesday up. So, um, when I came in, we were in this downtrend. It was pretty obvious. I mean, we've been trending down from the start. Um, you made an overnight low here with some fairly strong support. So when we broke lower here and you're a little bit away from the EMA, I like kind of trying to catch that back to the EMA, maybe catch that major low. And you can see right there, I don't have a line on there because that's not a, it didn't turn out to be a major low, but at the time it was an important low. Look at all that support. It's a double bottom and you get that little failed break lower. You're better off to wait on a higher low. So, but if you want to be aggressive, there's a second entry long right there. Notice the pullback, first entry, then you pull back, second entry, and this actually went lower and turned and went right out up the upper side. So you probably got people trapped there too. That was a quick, easy move. Then you finally get your higher low here, but by that time you're working sideways a little bit here. You're right into the EMA. So again, it's not a perfect setup. This is an inside bar, inside a more negative bar, but this one is a little more bullish. And we do have some clear evidence that you got support here. And so if you want to be aggressive, I like going long here because you may catch this major bottom here. But the reason I didn't make it blue is because of all the reasons I just discussed. It's right into a midline, which even if you didn't know that this was a midline, you had to be concerned that this might be a spike in channel, and this might actually be a channel right here. Because you can easily find this line and drag it up, and it does fit there. So, but even without it, going sideways, you're still right back into the EMA. So you're better off to wait and see what happens. And I'd have this line up here at the top. And look what happens. We come up here, we make a high. First of all, let's back up. We got a little trend line working up. We get a close outside, move to a new high. That's a really bearish bar, and it is a double test. So you might even consider entering there. I think you're in a situation like this, you're better off to wait on a lower high just to be sure, because sometimes you'll push up another tick or two just to trap people and take it lower. But there's enough reasons to be able to say, hey, I want to be aggressive, so you can make that one green. Here's your double top. You can consider that your lower high. It's not a perfect signal bar, but now you can say, hey, now you got a double test of this level too, of a double top. So that's pretty important high. And that also confirms the trend line, because there's your first two swings. That confirms it. So I like that one. If you didn't get out there, I like adding on. And if you didn't get in here, definitely you want to get in on this move. And so I like adding on there, to be honest. And you probably would have been out of this one. Actually, if you entered on this one, you would not be out of it. If you didn't get out here, that's like I like adding on again if you're, and then you got a load up of 3 of them there. So, and if you just get a few runners down here to this new low, you're in pretty good shape. So I don't like catching this one back to the EMA simply because we weren't to the low side yet. It could tick higher and turn back down again. So, and it's all downhill here. So you want to avoid any longs at this point because it's an obvious downtrend. So we get a bounce back up, and or what we talked about, we came up short here. So we're probably going to overshoot up here if we don't come up short. And lo and behold, we overshoot. Same thing, you got your trend line moving up, you get a close outside, you get a attempt to go higher. That's a little trap right there. You got a bunch of resistance right there. and this thing's probably going to shoot down for a new low. And you want to be looking. You might, I didn't talk about it. There's your first leg down. You might even use this one because that's really where you made your low on your first move. And you come over here and you look for your measured move, and I'd start here, and that would give you, usually when it gives you the lower trend channel line, that's going to be real close. But you'd also measure from here. Again, it still went a little further, but that's all news driven. Now you might have skipped this because of the news. It's right at the 9:30 hour, but the news actually came out right here, and it just kept going sideways, and you had that little. So it doesn't look. Generally, if the news is going to affect you, it's going to take off real fast. So it took a few minutes, and it's still following the price action. So, I'll be honest, I'd take that trade. But you need to be aware of that news item. If it was like 2 minutes before the news, then you'd probably skip it. But seeing the news triggered a few minutes earlier, and you're just kind of going sideways, and you got that little trap. I like that one. And plus, you got all this resistance up here too. So price action, even though there's a news item, price action's working perfectly. Same thing over here. Even though you had a news item with the FOMC news at 1 o'clock, everything's still working properly. Still following the price action rules perfectly. The problem is most times it moves too quick and it's much more volatile. So you don't want to be in at that point. But today you could have traded the whole thing, but I still didn't mark anything because FOMC can be highly volatile, and most times it will affect the market and create a lot of volatility. So this is rather mild here, but we've been, the volume and the volatility has been low, so no surprise that on a news day of high volatility, it probably wouldn't be as volatile as normal because the market's quieter than normal lately. So anyway, we get that bounce here. It's tempting to go long right here. There's your higher low. We had a big overshoot. We've had a break, a new low. We're probably going at least back to this side. And the fact that we overshot it, we're probably going to reverse here. So that's what I'm expecting to possibly happen, reverse. And but this is right into the EMA, right into the midline. You better wait on that true reversal. Notice we push through the EMA, turn back, and you get that third failed second. You get that third push down or the failed second entry short, basically. The confirmation of the trend line, the third touch. You really could almost argue this was a third touch here, but this is a third true touch because that's really your first two swings, this low and that swing. So I like that one. Go long right there, and if you do, you get a runner. Actually, I take that back. You wouldn't have had could have gotten more than 4 ticks out of that, but it would have come back and got your stop unless you got into this, and you might have done this based on that 2-bar matching high and this being close. You might let it break higher and then drop your limit order back in here, and you could have gotten filled a tick or two back in here, and then you would have had a runner. So I want to make sure I clarify that, because if you did enter on a 1 tick on the stop right here, then you didn't get a runner. So, and then we're moving up, and then we just kind of start going sideways. This is people starting to think about the news item. And also remember this high right here, you would have pulled this down, and notice what's happened. You're right back into that last resistance. So you don't want to be going long into that for sure. That keeps you out of the long. And then you're just going sideways, and notice that new high, and you get that failed second entry long because people don't understand what happens at important resistance. You don't go long into it, and it gives you a chance to go short. And the only reason it's a double test of this, the only reason I marked this green is because it's getting into the 12 o'clock hour. We're really going sideways here. This could just be a range, and we may not go lower. So for that reason, I made it green. It's not a perfect setup. You would have been better to wait on this entry, but that's in right at the 1 o'clock hour, or getting into the into the noon hour, I should say. And you better steer clear of this after the noon hour because we're already starting to go sideways. And I've seen days where from about 11 o'clock till the news comes out at 1 on FOMC days where it goes straight sideways and looks as tight as that right there. And you just don't get anything. So you don't want to get trapped in that going into a news item. So you're probably better off not to do anything from here over. And then we get one more trade. It's pretty obvious that this channel is holding by the time you get to 130 or so, and there's not a lot of volatility here. So when you get this second entry long counting off the high, plus you got a new low here, so it's like you get a confirmation of actually your trend line right here, and this is just still another confirmation. Fairly bullish bar. Your stop should still go below the low here, but this is really your signal bar. So when it broke above, and you could have ridden this one on into the afternoon and had a runner on it. So not a lot of trades again today, but there's several here that were, if you catch them, they're pretty good moves. So I was really hoping that maybe the last couple of days we were just waiting on the FOMC stuff, that maybe something was being expected, but you can see it didn't catch anybody off guard. No real surprises. We ended up rallying before the day was over. So, but we really closed. We closed around 2380. Let's just call it 2383, which is actually down from yesterday. So we did close down, but we could have been much further down. So I mean, that's not a big close down, but in the end we closed down. So you can see that close there yesterday, and we closed down a little bit lower today. So yep, I'm gonna wrap it up. Hope you had a great trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow one more time for the week, and then we'll wrap up another week, believe it or not. Yeah, but I'm out here for today. This is Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.